Hey, what is going on, everybody? It's YunKs. Today, I'll be going over the patch notes for update 2.3.0. Now, it is supposed to come today. Now, at this moment of me making the video, it has not arrived yet, but maybe by the time this video is done and uploaded, it may have arrived. Who knows? Anyway, if you guys are not sure or aware of what is coming in this update, I will be briefly going over in this video pretty quickly. There's a lot to go over, so let's start here with the weapons. First of all, hand cannons are getting increased initial accuracy and decreased accuracy drop for lower range hand cannons. Also, damage fall off curves steeper for all hand cannons, making this less viable at a longer range. Also, we are getting a small increase to PvE damage for all hand cannons, so I guess extra PvE damage is never a bad thing. Moving on to auto rifles. So the high rate of fire autos such as Doctrine of Passing, Soul Sealer's Claw, and Arminius D are getting a 6% damage reduction. Damn, this sounds pretty significant. I guess we're just gonna have to see. Also, a few other things. The Hawkmoon is getting -5 stability, which kind of sucks. Counterbalance reduces 80% of recoil angle now instead of 90%. Also, Poor Defiance of Yasmin is getting its increased zoom, which it was supposed to get from, I think, update 2.2.0, back when the April update came out, I think it was. Well, yeah, anyway, it sucks because I was currently working on Defiance of Yasmin as my next special weapon to review. So yeah, so in that video you might see some zoom differences there because of that. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the weapons. Now let's move on to the subclasses. The Gunslinger is getting a bunch of changes. Let's start with the grenades. Swarm grenades are now getting increased arming radius by 0.5 meters, plus increased detonation damage by 7%. So we're probably going to see a lot more swarm grenades now on the battlefield. Also, trip mines are getting a nerf. Poor trip mines. They will no longer be able to stick to enemies, and Bungie strictly wants them used for traps pretty much, and also damage reduced by 3% for the trip mines. So this is definitely not going to render them useless, but we may see just a tiny bit less often than we normally see. I'm sure many people are still going to run them as their main grenade on their Gunslinger. Anyway, we're moving on to the Golden Gun. The base damage is increased by 50% and an additional 30% damage against AI, which is absolutely beautiful and I think was definitely needed for the Golden Gun, at least in PvE. Also, the Dead Eye perk, which used to just increase your accuracy for your Golden Gun while it is active, will now increase your damage by another 30%. So we have the extra base damage of 50%, 30% against AI, plus if you have Dead Eye on, you'll get an extra 30% damage, so that sounds like a hell of a lot of damage. Also, Throwing Knives got reduced damage by 10%, and the Circle of Life perk, which was the perk that allowed you to increase your Golden Gun duration if you got a kill with a Throwing Knife during Golden Gun, which was pretty much useless. Well, now this perk is actually pretty damn good. Precision kills with a Throwing Knife will reduce your cooldown for Golden Gun. I could only imagine this being pretty nasty with a maxed out intellect, 2 Throwing Knives, and the Juggler perk active, and even a bad Juju thrown in there. Just a lot of Golden Gun potential. And last but not least, for the Gunslinger that I am going over, Scavenger will now award melee and grenade energy by 33% on ammo pickups. So that sounds pretty damn significant, and not only does it just do your melee, it does your grenade now too. We're moving right along to the Blade Dancer. So Blink Strike is getting a bunch of nerfs. Blink Strike's lunge distance is decreased by 0.4 meters now, so you won't be able to get those long range melees anymore. It's still gonna have some type of range, but not nearly as much as it used to. Also, backstabs angle was reduced by 30 degrees, so you can no longer get those front stabs like you used to. Those front stabs were certainly just a tad bit OP and kind of annoying, so I'm glad they fixed that. It was about damn time. Escape Artist invisibility is now delayed by a half a second upon activation. Also, fast twitch recharge rate was reduced by 20%. A whole bunch of nerfs, like I said, for the Blink Strike. we're moving on to Arc Blade now. The base duration is increased by 2 seconds, which is very, very nice. And the hit search range is increased by 0.5 meters, which is also very nice. And you get a 0.8 second cooldown between Arc Blade swings while airborne. So it's going to be harder to be mobile and, to really spam your swings in order to get closer to your enemy. And this is really going to cause you to be a little more conservative with your swings. And on top of that, we are using more Arc Blade energy while swinging and missing. It is increased by 20% now, but if you get the hit on your enemy, it will decrease by 20%, so it balances out. So you're really going to want to just use your swings for actual kills and not really for the mobility purposes. But of course you still can, it's just going to come with a price. And your Arc Blade may run out a lot sooner than normal. Also, Arc Blade damage against AI is increased by 30%, which is also very much needed, at least in my opinion. It was very lackluster in PvE, but now it'll be dealing additional damage, which is very, very good. Also, if you are rocking the perk Vanish on your Arc Blade, you will now turn invisible upon cast of your Arc Blade, so it will activate as you cast your super, and it will also still function as normal. So if you want to go invisible a little bit later on, you still have the option to do so. Showstopper will now have an increased damage radius by 1 meter, and the perk Encore, as well as extending your duration, you will also get a 150% damage increase with the kill for a short period of time with your Arc Blade. We're moving on to the Night Stalker. Shadow Shot will now apply its suppression effect on impact. This is absolutely amazing. Smoke grenades are also getting a few changes. The impact damage is increased by 34%, and the suppression and damage over time duration is reduced by 1 second. Also, Shade Step is getting a nerf. You could only do a single dodge on every 3-second cooldown. This is certainly going to dramatically affect the way Night Stalkers play their subclass. Now that's pretty much it for the Hunter. Let's move on to the Titan and Warlock, as they got a few little tweaks as well. The Twilight Garrison will only have a single dodge for every 3-second cooldown, just like Shade Step, which is very, very sad, but this will make you be a little more conservative with your evades. Also, Hammer of Soul is getting a damage increase of 10% versus AI. Fist of Havoc is getting a damage increase by 50%, plus an additional 50% against AI. Same thing for the Nova Bomb, that extra 50% plus the 50% against AI. Storm Trance is getting a damage increase by 10% just to AI. The Hammer of Soul Hammer will now travel just a little bit faster by 1.3%. Also, the detonation radius for your hammer is increased by 10%, which is pretty damn nice. Warlocks are getting quite a nerf. Firebolt's arming time is now increased by 0.2 seconds. So if you see a Warlock throw these on the ground, you have just a little bit more time to get the hell out of there. Also, it has a decreased search victim radius by 1 meter now, so it won't be able to travel as far, as well as taking a little bit longer to detonate. Also, the Viking Funeral perk will no longer extend duration of Ignite effects. Viking Funeral now weakens targets afflicted with Ignite effects, causing them to take 5% more damage from all sources, stacking up to 3 times. Very, very interesting. And last but not least, Flame Shield is getting a 0.3 second delay for the Overshield to activate after you hit your enemy with your melee. And that's pretty much going to wrap this one up. Now, I didn't go over every little detail. If I did, this video would have been way too long, but I still went over the majority of stuff and certainly all the major things that are going to change. And if you do want to see every little single detail, I will link the patch notes in the description down below for you to see. Anyway, that's going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed the video and sub for the support. I'd highly appreciate it.